Greetings, this is Brother Nia from NABSS TV, founder of the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools. And today we have David Simon from Simon Education. And we're going to have a discussion about his career and what brought him to Simon Education Online. So greetings, brother. How are you doing?
Okay, I'm fine. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk with you, have a conversation. So I'm good.
It is well overdue, my brother, well overdue. Let's start off with your early education. How was life for you in school? Where was you born? Were you born in this country or abroad?
Yeah, I was born up here, and my parents came from Carriacou. Grenada, small island of Grenada. And I think what was unique about having parents from that island is that they were very African. They weren't talking about Caribbean. They were talking about we are African people, because they've got a tradition there called Big Drum. So on the island, there's about 9 different villages, and some of the villages are Ewe, some are Fanta, some are Hausa, some are Igbo, some are Temne. So my father's from Temne, my mother's from Igbo. And so they knew their kind of like cultural identity. They were proud to be African and to celebrate that. And that really rubbed off on me, you know, both as an educationist and also as a writer. I've written novels and plays and things like that. So when you grow up in that kind of experience, with that kind of pride and that kind of self-determination, it forges your identity. I had no identity problems growing up as kids, you know. When people would say to me, you know, as kids, they would say to me, I'm not African, or, you know, even I'm not West Indian. Me, I was beating them up and saying, you are African, you know. You know, so it was a blessing to have parents like that, to have blessing parents.
I must say, I mean, to have parents like that, you know, especially from the Caribbean, must be pretty rare still. Because, you know, when you're in your schools, you must have been in a severe minority with those thoughts.
Yeah, well, that's right. But at the same time, I understood when kids would say, like, sometimes we go, you know, when we became teenagers, we're going to check out some girls, and somebody would say, one of my friends would say, oh, she's got good hair, because she's got straightish hair. But I would correct them in a very kind of like subtle way, or sometimes confront them, you know. But it was, so it was unique, but that's how things were. It was simply how things were in my household. And because I was kind of like the youngest, second youngest, my older brothers and sisters, they were going to Black Power meetings and coming back with Malcolm X badges. And I remember my brother brought the book Groundings of My Brother by Walter Rodney. I read that book. I think I was about 14 or something like that. And I was just amazed, because I was reading about Timbuktu, and I was reading about West African civilizations, Ghana, Mali, Songhai, etc. And, you know, so growing up in that household where your parents are telling you, you are African, you know, my father's saying we're Timne, you know, my mother's telling me about all these stories and about big drum traditions, etc. And all the African traditions that we still maintained, and like, you know, pouring libation and things like that. Then you got your elder brothers and sisters bringing home books by Walter Rodney and that. Then when I was about 19, I think I read Autobiography of Malcolm X. And for many people, I'm sure for your listeners as well, that was, you know, a rites of passage moment, you know, because that opened my eyes. And I was just on the path. I was just on a path to find out more and more in terms of African liberation, getting myself some skills, because I didn't leave school with much qualifications. I think on about 4 GCSEs, you know, and then, you know, I went on to do, you know, A-levels degrees and masters and things like that. But yeah, so that was my former years. You know, it was very much from that grounding came from the home. Yeah.
So how did you get into the Saturday schools movement?
Okay, well, that was, again, it was kind of like by, you know, slightly by accident. I'd left school, I'd left university and was running a theatre company.
Running a theatre company?
Yeah, I used to work in theatre, yeah.
You must be about 22, 23?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was doing that, and we were called Beats Theatre. We did a play called Mountaintop. You might be able to see it on my left, a book on my left, and ironically, it was on the Windrush, and it did really well. And you know, people, we got funding to do it as a national tour. So we did 2 national tours But after that, I remember somebody saying to me, well, people aren't really interested in the Windrush, you know, and that was how it was back then, you know, it's kind of like it's old people stuff, you know. So we kind of left it, you know. So what happened then is that my sister asked me, you know, money was tight. My sister asked me to do some teaching. She was teaching at Saturday school, run by the real pioneers. I've forgotten his name now, the man that did the West Indian Saturday schools. He was from Grenada as well. But he was one of the real pioneers, you know, of the actual movement. And then after about a year, you know, we kind of like wanted not just to be maths and English. We said we wanted more, you know, culture as well. So myself and my sister, we set up our own, and we called it Ebony. And so we just had one student. My aunt and her daughter turned up, my cousin. So we just had one student, and I advertised so much, and I thought to myself, oh no, this is not going to work, because just one person turned up. And we hired a youth club. And I remember what happened at the youth club was that they had, you know what they used to call blues dance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they had a blues dance. And what happened was there was a blues dance the night before. So when I went into the room that I was going to run the Saturday school, there was tenants, and I don't remember, special brew cans and weed. You can still smell the weed. You know, I thought to myself, how am I going to run a Saturday school? The place stinks of weed, you know, etc., etc. So I remember this. I had a mop, because it was just me at that time. I had a mop, got some disinfectant, I was wiping the floor, put out some chairs, put my sign out saying everyday Saturday school, you know. And one person turned up, and I was so gutted, you know. But I remember I met a cousin of mine.
This is the days before social media.
Yeah. Oh God. You know, we didn't have email. You know, we didn't have computer. We didn't have
fax
anything.
machine.
You know. So what happened? So I met a cousin, an elder gentleman, a very wise man, and I was telling him about it and how it didn't go well. And he said, "Take your time," you know, and for some reason, normally it'll just go over your head, words, you know, like that. But it didn't. I thought, oh, I'm going to kind of stick at this, and I stuck with it. And after about a year, we'd moved into another place. We had probably about 20 odd, and then after about 2 years, we had about 100. And then it just grew and grew to the point where I think we had about 6,000 come through, you know, our services, you know. And so we was running the theatre. I was running the theatre, which was like mainly like theatre and education, and I was doing the Saturday school. Wow. And I was, at the time, I was writing residence at the University of Warwick, you see. So I had these 3 projects that were all to do with culture. It was all to do about learning, all to do about promoting our culture. And that set me up on the path, because no way, when you have an education experience like I did, you know, I'd really failed in school, and you come out, if anybody said to me, you would one day be an educationist, you would write several books, etc., you know, it was just not in my path, you know, it was just not in my path. So, you know, it's, I sometimes tell people these stories because people think that your path is determined by your schooling. And if you have a bad experience in schooling, you know, I say no, you know, just look at what you are instinctively attracted to, what you instinctively, you know, like, love.
What you're passionate about.
Yeah, and educate yourself, you know. Yeah. Really, you know, we all have a duty to educate ourselves. So whilst I was doing all these projects, I was educating myself. But something I didn't mention in the first question you asked was that my gap year, I did a gap year before I went to university, and it was in the British Museum. Now, again, although I knew something about my culture, I really didn't know that much. But in that museum, I met people who had worked with George Orwell, you know, writers who worked with George Orwell. I met Michael Thelwell, who wrote Harder They Come, the novel Harder They Come. You know, I met so many writers, and they were inspiring me to write. And I would go out there, you know, there was a cafe around the corner, and we'd meet up, you know, all the writers that used to use the reading room, because I worked in the reading room. And they used to have to come to me because I used to say, you can photocopy this, you can photocopy that, you know, this book is too rare, you can't do that. You know, so I had quite a lot of power for like a, you know, 20-year-old or whatever I was at the time. So, you know, so that inspired me. And I had a key, I had a pass key. And I started to go and see all the old books and you know, and there was things that didn't quite make sense. For example, like the Shabaka stone, which is part of our great literary tradition, and the Rosetta Stone. I just knew the Rosetta Stone as a place to turn right and go to the canteen. You know, I didn't know the importance of this, you know, the Shabaka Stone, the Rosetta Stone, you know, the Egyptian art, you know, artifacts, etc., etc. But something was prodding me, saying, you've been brought here for a purpose. So now I go to the, I do a lot of research at the British Museum. Now I go there and I'm taking copious notes, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And I just shake my head at, you know, I was 20 or so, walking past all these great African artifacts, unaware that this was, you know, our history, African history. Yeah,
absolutely. So when I set up NABSS in 2007, I was like trying to document all the ebony supplementary schools that were popping up. The most I had was 11. Do you remember how many you had in total?
No, I had 10 at the time. So we were a network. I had 10 Saturday schools, and it was, to be honest, it was too much to run 10 Saturday schools. You know, people said, how did you do it? And I say to them, it was like organizing a big wedding every single weekend. and that's not an exaggeration. I would have Thursday, Friday, staff phoning in sick, caretakers phoning me saying the building's flooded. We're going to have to, you know, you're going to have to cancel. You know, head teachers and heads of library always trying to close down my Saturday schools. It was a constant fight. And that's what actually led me to go online. It was because—
Which is the next question. What inspired you to go online?
Yeah, well, what happened? You see, what happened? My full-time job was that as a teacher, and I didn't, because I'd come out of theatre now, I didn't want to. I didn't want to go up the rung in terms of teaching, but I was kind of like forced to, you know. So I went for promotion, then went for promotion again, then. And as I was going up, and I became deputy head of faculty, and I was put in charge of a job. I was telling we had a new principal, and I said to them, look, we used to have to do assessments for the students, paper-based. And I said, this is ridiculous. We have to go on, do it online, find an online service. Now, this was 15 years ago, 15, 16 years ago, when it wasn't that, you know, kind of popular. So I did some research, visited some other institutions that were using an online assessment package. And I came back and we did a trial at it was the FE college I was working at, and then they implemented it. But I saw the potential, you know, I saw the potential. I said, no, this is the way of the future. And so when I then resigned, and so I wanted to run Simon Education full time. So we'd gone from Ebony to Simon Education because Ebony as a name was trademarked by Ebony magazine. So we were told that they got an aggressive, you know, legal people. So if we carry on, you know, so we had to change very quickly, you know. So we're now operating under Simon Education. And when I saw this, what was happening online, and I started going to some online conferences, you know, that were very small back in those days, and I saw the potential. And the research was coming out to say that people that learn, children that learn in a hybrid method, online and offline, actually do better than if it's purely online or purely face-to-face, you see. So I saw that come in, and so we started very kind of like clumsily, but it worked quite well. But it was still new, especially for the African Caribbean community. So we started this probably about 12 years ago. We started online, and it's still new for the African Caribbean community. And people were saying, no. It
still is now. We're struggling.
I know, but you see what happened. But it was also new for us because I was just teaching as I would normally teach, you see. But then I began to, you know, I just looked at every piece of documentation that was a PDF online, I printed and I read. Every video on YouTube I watched, you know, and I just, you know, was trying to get my head around this. And very slowly we began to learn, you know, new techniques, things that we could do, new methodologies in terms of teaching, etc. to the point whereby we were using our own resources. We have our own books, and I could see that this was a way forward. And what then happened, as you know, the pandemic came and everybody went. We were 75% online. We were now suddenly we were 100%. We were prepared to be online, to be an online provider. And also what happened, you've got to factor in money as well. Yep. I was spending probably about 5,000 a month on hiring all these venues, paying 42 staff, buying books, etc., etc. And suddenly I could run the same service probably for less than £100 a month. Really, apart from the wages of some of the teachers, so it was pittance in comparison. So there are all these factors coming in. So I could see that it was the way forward, but our community needed convincing. And we did a hybrid method. So we would teach the students online, and the students would meet wherever they were in, say, London, at Lewisham Library, and we'll do a face-to-face with them, like once a term or twice a term. But then parents started saying they just love it online, and because we were sending video clips, in the chat sections, and they were purchasing our books, etc. Some were also having a tutor as well, so that we were teaching them online, and they would have a tutor come to their house, sometimes weekly, sometimes every 2 weeks.
So that's the hybrid you were talking about, online plus face-to-face.
Yeah, that gives you the best results, I find, especially for the younger children. The older children can work fine with just online. So that's what moved us to online. Then what happened was that just before that, I was asked by an NGO in Ghana to do to do teacher training. So I did that teacher training. But when I did this is 14 years ago, when I left, everything came to a standstill, you see, because I did a teacher training probably for about 40, 50 teachers in Ghana. But suddenly online, people were still asking me to do training. And so we did it online. So we did a project called SEED, which stands for Simon Education African Caribbean Development Scheme. And we were teaching teachers online, and it worked brilliantly. Plus they can download some, workbooks, PDFs, the presentations that I deliver. And we sent them resource, because a sister she used to be based in the UK, but she went to Ghana, opened a school. She asked us to do a training as well. So we also decided that we will send resources, because I closed down the physical Saturday school. My garage was packed with resources. So I said, look, have these resources. And we bought some extra ones as well, especially books. I don't know if probably Pepper Kai.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, well, Pepper Kai, I was up by him, and we bought a whole lot of books. So we did an exchange, because Pepper Kai sells my books, and so we did like an exchange, and we sent those books to her school, and other schools heard about it, so we started doing it. And what they said really inspired us. They basically said, because of the online, they said the teacher training is what they need, because they get limited teacher training, but they don't get any Afrocentric teacher training. You don't talk about, some schools, countries like, say, St. Lucia or, say Ghana, where it's bilingual at primary level. They tackle issues of, the benefits of being bilingual, the benefits of teaching African languages. Sometimes others don't, and so we did that teacher training, which is a 4-module teacher training, and we sent resources. The feedback we got from the teachers was that the resources meant that the children were learning at a much faster rate. One in particular, there's a book called A is for Africa by Ifeoma.
I remember that.
Yeah. A is for Africa. And Dr. Thomas, who's in Ghana, Dr. Victor, who's in Ghana, head teacher in Ghana, he said, when the children saw that book, they saw their mothers, because it's got pictures, real life pictures of traditional African life, their mother plaiting their daughter's hair, cooking, fufu, in the open and things. It said it did something to them that he said as a teacher he's never seen. so we were sending all these books. So we send a lot of Afrocentric books. We send a lot of reference books, dictionaries, encyclopedias. We send a lot of science books as well. So being online, it helped us not only with our Saturday school, we now have an online school, but it also helped us with our delivery of our teacher training, which is another arm to the work that we do, which is teacher training in the Caribbean and Africa. And the benefit that came out of that, the benefit that's come out from online, was that our teachers here in the UK, the teachers in the Caribbean, the teachers in West Africa, Central Africa, South Africa, when they came together online, we did a Zoom, could we do a Zoom training? They were so excited. They learned so much because they're listening to each other, the issues. And sometimes they realized it was the same issues. People in West Africa, they thought that the people in the Caribbean, were kind of like, addressed many of the issues they were struggling with. Mm-hmm. And they also thought that a lot of the answers will come from us in the UK, you see. And so really what came from this consensus was that we, as a collective of, global educators, we have to do the field work. So our teachers in the Caribbean and in Africa, like I was just in Gambia, just came back from Gambia, and I said to the teachers, you have to go and do the field work, go into your community, rediscover the educational gains that you had, the proverbs that you had, look at the issues that you face, and devise teaching assignments to address the issues, whether it's water harvesting, food security, gender issues, etc., etc. But they were excited. They were inspired. I was inspired. I was excited.
Amazing. So you spoke about books, but you have your own books.
Yeah.
So how many books have you written?
I think I've written about 47 in total. Yeah, 47 in total, and we're just about to launch. It's actually a relaunch of our books. Sorry, whoops. Bad move. I went to reach back. Yeah. Yeah. So this is one. It's a new cover. We put in a new cover on, but this is this is a workbook for children.
Show the cover.
Because, yeah. It's going to be a new cover.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
This is an old one. This is an old one. So what this book had, these are workbooks for children from from 5 to 11. And then we do have it for older children, but what it was is they followed these books. This is one, How to Unlock Your Child's Genius. Mm-hmm. And then we did How to Unlock Your Family's Genius, which is the blue one. And then more recently, we did How to Unlock Your Genius using Black History, which is become like the bestseller of all of them.
That looks pretty thick.
Yeah. That's.
Oh, wow, yes. Yeah,
that took a while. People say, how long did it take you? And I say, it took 2 years to write, but it took 40 years of reading. Yeah. So though we did those books, what happened, I was asked to do a present. I'm sure you would have been there. I was asked to do a presentation at Diane Abbott's Black Child Conference, yes. One of the first ones. Mm. And we did and we bought the book, How to Unlock Your Child's Genius, to it. We had it just printed. It came, I went into the room, did the presentation. When I came out, the copies that we had on the table, my wife was selling, they'd all sold out. And that's when we realized there is a need for this. Because that first book just shows you the 11 steps to working with our children, addressing holistically, addressing their health issues, addressing their emotional side, addressing their cultural needs, the need to learn Black history. How do they read? What happens when they're labeled dyslexic or whatever? And it's just the 11 steps to unlock their genius that I felt that parents can do, and teachers in collaboration could do. But also it helps to unlock the genius of the parent. So that was the first in the book, and then the others came. And then after I kept writing these books for the parents, people said, well, what about the children? And so we wrote this book, and it consists of English, mathematics, science, and Black history. We call it Global African Studies. And And the reason I wrote it is because when I was running my schools, we always struggled to get the right books for the schools. We would use books written by, clearly it's written by, like a, white European, who, and that sometimes there'd be no representation of Black children, but there'd be no cultural context, you see. So when we wrote this, we put in comprehension exercises on, say, Bob Marley, or Ghana, Mali, Songhai, or it might be ancient Egypt. We put in exercises like that. So we embedded the Black history, and we also made it discrete. So there are sections where it's got Black history or global African studies, and so we're really kind of relaunching this at our book festival. We're going to be having the online Black Book Festival in September, 24th of September. And yeah, so our books are key to what we do, because when you say you're going to educate the child, the next thing is, well, where are you going to get the resources? And it can undermine what you're doing if the resources, if they're, you're teaching some year 6 Black boys. So they're just becoming like seeing themselves as young teenagers, and you're giving them Alice in Wonderland comprehension exercise.
And they're starting to ask questions as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And in these books, they've got all these comprehension exercises about Black history. They also have, African proverbs. They have riddles, science riddles. We try and make it engaging, because over the 35 years that we have been going, we have learned what, it stimulates and excites a child to read, not to read, to learn, you see. So, that's what, that's why we've developed our resources. So as an educator, one of the hurdles that you come to is that you have to address this issue of resources. What materials are you going to use? So we all educational, Black educational institutions, they have to be publishing.
So, and what kind of feedback are you getting from parents and students?
We used to have questionnaires, and it used to be positive. We'd always aim for 85% positive feedback. With our workshops, for example, with our How to Not Your Child Genius workshops, we got to a stage where we're getting 100% rating as excellent, which was really good. But that took a while. That took a while for us to get there, so we're, roughly, if you look at our questionnaires, it'd be like 85%, rating, good, to very good. But what happened about a few years ago, unfortunately, someone in the local community here in Lewisham who helped me when I was setting up a Saturday school, she passed away. So it was a big reception for her, and I attended. And as I was there, I had ex-students come up to me who I had taught, and we had taught at our Saturday schools 20 odd years ago.
So they're big adults now with children.
Yeah, they were big adults, and they came up. And I remember one was she was a marketing executive, and she said to me, thank you for your school, because your school saved me. And I thought, I was a bit puzzled, and she said, because she was taught by a Black woman. And she said, I had a Black female teacher, and I was going off the rails, and I was being, bad in school, disruptive at home, etc. And she said that discipline of the expectation that they had of me to achieve, seeing this kind of like woman come and, take interest in my learning, she said it just helped her, and it's stories like that. And then there was 2 other brothers, they were twins. They came and they said they work in advertising, and they said that. And then there's another one who works in a TV executive. And when they give you feedback, but what they said the Saturday school that you ran was phenomenal. All of them said that. But to us, it was work. It was hard work. And we ran that for the Saturday schools lasted 25 years.
Amazing.
We ran that, and we had dedicated teachers, unfortunately, again, another one passed away just 2 months ago, Angela, and who would come in every week, even if she was not feeling well, she would come in. That's what the teachers were. They would come in and they would just give of their time, you see. And that's what made it really, you know. We always struggled. We struggled for money. We struggled for resources. We struggled with head teachers and head libraries that we used to use. The chief librarian trying to close us down. That was a constant fight. And that's what, again, that's why we went online. But so the achievement for, you know, was not only to come from, you know, parents and students, but it's also the fact that we existed.
Yep.
Because it was easy to close. And there were some times when I didn't even have enough money to pay this staff, you know, when attendance was low, you know, other organizations were coming into the Black community, and the Black community, you know, some members of the Black community were going with them. And so our attendance was going down low. But we just stuck with it. And then this is the thing, I think the whole lesson of our experience is that you keep going, you keep going, you keep learning, you keep being humble, you keep being genuine. You do make mistakes, but we've made some, you know, real mistakes in what we've done. But if you're honest and genuine, you know, that integrity will stay for you. And what will happen is that people who we taught 20 years ago, 25 years ago, they are phoning us up with their children. They're trusting us enough to bring their children, you see. So it means that we did do something right, you know. And now, as a, you know, we're in Ghana, we're in Botswana, we're in Sierra Leone, we're in, I'm just going to move into, we're in Gambia now. We're just going to move into Sierra Leone. I think we're in about 9 different countries now.
Well, that kind of comes into my next question. So what's the outlook for the future?
Well, for us, it's no longer running Saturday schools, you know, obviously, you know, we see ourselves that's for the younger generation coming, but we don't want them to make the same mistakes that we made. So we run a course actually, which the course is called, is for people here, mainly here in the UK and America. And it's called Start Your Own Education Business.
Yeah, I shared that in my newsletter. That was a couple of months ago.
Yeah, and we've had we've trained probably about I'd say probably about, I think 50, 60 people. We only started it recently. And what that really does is that it shows you how to run a business, not just Saturday schools, but homework clubs, after school clubs, holiday schemes, Black history workshops. And people are coming with all different ideas. We have some therapists coming saying that they want to do art therapy for our children. So, you know, so we show them the range that this is a business. We've got to see this as a business, you see, not just as an activist pastime
or a hobby. I mean, unless you're going to fund it yourself, you know, you've got plenty of money. You know, if you wanted to raise funds to actually run the business, you need to run it as a business.
Yeah, that's right. So we show them how to do their business plan. We show them the different business models that they could follow. We show them how to, you know, raise their funds. We show them how to market their business, you know, because we've learned over this over 35 years. It's time for us to pass this on, you see. And so we're happy that we've got a few, there's a few new Saturday schools. There's people who've started their own Black history workshops, doing, you know, and charging and doing it well. So we're running a new one which starts on next Tuesday on the 14th. That's 7:30. That's Starting Your Own Education Business. So we do that. We do a very popular online Black history course, which is based on that book. So 8-week modules. Again, we are encouraging people to be the trainers themselves. So we want people to go out and run their own Black history workshops, you know, because this is something I might do for the next few years. But, you know, so it's really what we see for ourselves as the future is we're really wanting to pass on our knowledge and skills to the next generation, but globally. You know, so we have, you know, quite a big following in the States, here in the UK, especially in Africa. You know, we're in Uganda, we're working with, I think about 14 schools in Uganda, Botswana, Ghana, and they're all coming on board. Like in Ghana, they now teach Black history in the schools that we work
Amazing.
with. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. David Simon, 35 years in education. That's an amazing story. This is an amazing story. I'm so glad we've done this. It's been well overdue. Due to your constant dedication in our community, the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools would like to award you an award for
Oh my
cultural
goodness.
education.
Oh
This
my
is for
goodness.
your constant dedication and upliftment of our parents and children in our community. So I'll be sending this to you, or we can link up and I'll give it to you personally. But this is on the way to you. This is for your constant dedication to educating our people globally. So congratulations.
Okay,
And well
thank you
done.
so much. I did not expect that, you know. I did not expect that, you know. As I said, you know, this is just hard work, but I would accept that on behalf of all the teachers that are, you know, unfortunately some who have passed, but, you know, all the teachers that worked with us, about 140 teachers who've worked with us, and all the parents who supported us, who many of the parents are sponsors for the work that we do in the in Africa and the Caribbean. We also do this in the Caribbean. So I'll accept that on behalf of all of those, and those who inspired me, you know, the great Amos Wilson, who inspired me, you know, the writings of Walter Rodney, you know, these are the people who inspired us. So when we do our courses, we keep calling their names. It's like we're constantly pouring libation. So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. You're more than welcome. So congratulations. Best wishes for the future. And I know you'll be carrying on for another 35 years.
I hope, I wish. Okay.
Well, brother, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Greetings. My name is Brother Nia Imara from the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools and NABSS TV, bringing to you this year the NABSS Awards 2022 for cultural education, community activism, and Kurundi Nyama, which is Swahili for giving back. This is for young people who are students or ex-pupils of a supplementary school, and they give back their time and energy to support the next generation in supplementary schools. And I'd like to thank the sponsors who are the African Spiritual Life Coaching, that's Brother Imani, Pen People down in South London by Nicholas Okwolu, African Caribbean Homeschool Network by Empress Kizzy, NABSS Design Print and Photography by Daniel Palmer, Black History Walks by Tony Warner, LFP Kiddies Club by Carmel Brito, and Kwame Oklu, who runs the Youth Learning Network Supplementary School down in Dulwich in South London. So thank you very much for those organisations to come forward to sponsor the NABSS Awards 2022. Thank you very much.